So everything absorbs the light. And if you're not a match for this particular solar flare, meaning that you don't have any errors in your body or negatives within your body, and those are called syntax errors, meaning you're a low vibratory frequency being, and you haven't confessed these things to lighten your heart chakra or through the middle path, then you will not be an energetic match for this sun once the solar flare hits. Basically, it will hit you and you will turn into this, okay? And everything around us will be turned into this. It'll be a very beautiful crystal city now, okay? And this is what's going to happen. The stars, which are the alloy balls, once the moon shuts down, of course they're going to fall because the magnetic resonance is no longer holding them on. I don't believe that these people in the bottom realm ever had a star mapping system. I believe that they exist as they are. Like some people say that they are giant photon light beings or whatever, but I believe that to be so. So once the stars and all the star mapping comes undone, that means that all matter is going to go away from our light bodies and we will become light beings again as we originally were. We'll absorb the sun and we'll be white, we'll be bright. We will be, as they say, we will have white robes. And you see these people in Revelations that are as the sand of the sea, and they've all been given white robes. The white robes are a signification of you becoming a light being again, and you no longer being encased in matter, which being encased in matter is the shell or the hell or the shell of the body. When you are encased in matter, you're talking about being you needing food, and you get parasites within the body, and this opens up the door for all of these different various light beings in the microscopic reality to exist. And as I explained before, all of these different chopped up light angles creates the jinn spirits that can take over the brain or be used by malevolent beings on planet Earth to overtake or to whatever they need to do in terms of possession of the mind of human beings. So once we come out of these skin suits, this will be the restoration of all light, and this is the restoration of the Osiris, which is the light body or the third eye. And you're talking about the Set chopping up his brother's body parts by this woman or the Isis or the Mama is bringing in this new child. Basically, she's going to restore the body of light back to Osiris, and we will no longer have the chopped up body parts that Set created, or the Satan or the Sutan, which is melanin, which is carbon, which is 666, which is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Okay, so now this is how this all is going to go down in terms of the proper order of operations of the reset, meaning that the sun is born, it resets everything. This stuff happens and that's fine. The sky falls because the osmium breaks up, and then we're left with the raw materials in the crystal city in the realm, and we're all light beings back to our original state out of the matter-based bodies, right? But what happens if he's not born and we do this in another way, like meaning that he never comes into the realm, God forbid, and we are just forced to slowly go through this process because this sun is dying out. We don't have any gold reflecting any of the energy back into the sun. We don't have that, and no gold dome will do that either. And as a matter of fact, he is on his way to be born, and how you know is because all of the earthquakes that are happening are a triggering or a signaling of his birth. So we already know that he's on his way to be born. And as we get closer and closer and closer to him getting towards the womb of his mother, you're talking about this continually becoming more volatile, okay? And as these two beings come closer together so that they can consummate and bring the sun in, this becomes more volatile, more earthquakes, more natural disasters, because all of the light is being shifted by this photon light being that's getting ready to enter into this space through time, okay? So what if he's never born? What if by some miraculous, and I highly doubt that it happens, they stop him from being born? Well, the sun itself is dying anyway, okay? And there's really no way. They don't have the technology. They don't understand how to stop it. They don't know what to do. And at this point, it's so dead that it would not matter, okay? Now, even placing a synthetic sun up in the sky is not going to be a solution, because the sun's energy has a symbiotic relationship with all the photon light beings that were mapped out, meaning that the sun was there, and it of itself is the light that's trapped in matter, okay? So you're talking about the symbiotic relationship between the sunlight and the photon light beings and their mapped out light bodies in this realm, okay? We're all a part of this energy. So that's what creates the natural rhythm and our connection and the photosynthesis of the earth realm with the oxygen that exists within the earth realm. So if you were to allow this sun to slowly die out over time, what would happen is that there would be a magnetocaloric effect, and it's basically like an entropy of the sun basically going back to its original state. It would pretty much like kind of just die out and absorb this fire and just kind of go back to black, absorb it back into itself, right? The light beings that exist within bodies, of course, because the atmosphere is not now affected, because in order for you to have clean oxygen, By creating O3 using triatomic allotropes, it uses UVB and UVC radiation. Okay, and this is actually a shield of the biosphere, and also photosynthesis, which is through the algae, through the plants, and all of the the biomaterials of Earth, and the different things that filter this oxygen for us so it can create clean air, would break down when you don't have a sun. Okay, the sun dies out, so the oxygen is going to be toxic. No one will be able to breathe. Okay, and then everything would just die out, meaning that, yeah, the light beings that are within their bodies, their skin suits would die out, right? But we would be in darkness, right? And then it would be like, okay, well, we got to figure out how we're gonna what we're going to do and how we're going to get out of here. We would die, and then our light bodies will be kind of freed within the realm, in a realm of darkness. Okay, but all the plant life, everything would just, it would just shrivel up and die. Everything is going to just die if you go this way, where you allow the sun to naturally die out and intervene, versus bringing in the sun, which is going to spark the energy and basically reset the sun into a new blue sun. Now, the sun becomes blue because after the initial solar flare, you have the inner core, which is now reset. It has a new spark of energy. It was set, on fire, or it was relit basically by this spark. And then after it sits in the atmosphere for some days, as they call it, the 3 days of darkness or whatever, then it's going to gradually cool, okay, because it's meeting the oxygen. And as it starts to cool and the density starts to meet this kind of vaporized water, then you're going to see it turn blue and you will have a new blue sun. Okay, so this is the order of operations in terms of the math and how you would go about resetting the earth realm, and why it is necessary for this sun to be born first, so that we can have a new sun that is sparked, so that we don't completely lose this realm. Because if we allow this to happen, and it's not saying that the people who are photon light, who have a soul, will necessarily be negatively affected, because no, they won't. The energy cannot die. Okay, it'll just simply be in this very dark sphere, and then we'll have to figure out, okay, what are we going to do now? Hopefully there's some interdimensional beings that exist or are waiting outside of this, which I do believe so, and they will help us get out of the situation. However, in order for you to have another sun to re-spark, you would have to do this process all over again. So then we will have lost everything that we set up, or everything that we predetermined to do, because we now have to redo the magnetism, the pragmatic bubble, so we can create the spark all over again. Okay, so that we don't lose this realm, this sun has to be born first in the order of operations. And that's pretty much it in terms of the difference between what would happen if he's born versus him not being born. This is actually a good thing. Most people think of this as a the Thanos moment, basically, where it's like the snap of fingers and all these people die or disappear, but death is nothing but a door. Okay, and we need not fear this process, because if you have a light body, if you have a soul, and you are able to withstand, or go beyond this point, it won't be an issue for you at all. Either way, it won't be an issue for you. However, if you don't have that, then of course you'd be scared and you'd be afraid. Okay, and I imagine that those light beings, or those fallen angels that are existing within this chopped up body, or these malevolent beings that are using the chopped up body of Osiris and these different daemons of Goetia, are deathly afraid of this coming undone, because they're like, oh, we'll no longer be able to use these different angles of light with our square and compass, okay, in order for us to entrap the chosen. Okay, so this is how you do the order of operations in order to reset Earth's sphere. I hope you enjoyed this message, and please like, share, and subscribe, and put a comment down in the comments just to let me know what you think of this content overall. Thanks for watching. Peace, love, and light.